Next of Kin is about Asian family living in London. There's 2 girls, 2 boys in the family and their mum, and it's just about their lives and an event that happens at the beginning of the show, and then how that has a ripple effect on the rest of the family. So at the start of the show, our oldest brother is murdered in Pakistan, and so when my sister Mona, who's played by Archie, goes out to collect the body with our mother, they discover that there's been some kind of nasty going-ons in relation to his death. So they start to investigate what's happening, and then the police in Britain start investigating it, and it's discovered that our nephew Danny, his son, had some form of radicalisation happen to him, and he's been involved in some kind of terror attack. My character's called Annie. She's the youngest sibling of the family, and she's an artist, a painter. She also is a lesbian, so she's got like quite a strong part of the LGBT community, and her story is kind of about her coming out almost to her siblings know, but her mum doesn't really fully know, and it's kind of like creating that understanding and creating that kind of open space for her to come out, and about her journey with her girlfriend. It's really rare that Asian characters get to be portrayed as part of the LGBT community, and there's obviously South Asian lesbians and gay men, so I thought it was really important that that story's told, because it's just never talked about. I'd like to hope that it gives a really equal-handed account of actually what happens and the suffering that the families go through when this happens. I think there's a lot of blame that's put around when this kind of thing happens in London or abroad, and I think it's important to show the reality and the normality of people's lives before it happens. It's not something that anybody would wish upon anyone. It was really important that it wasn't preachy, or it wasn't trying to do too much, or it wasn't trying to, solve the problem of why teenagers are radical. Like, that's not, it's such a big issue. It's such a huge, complicated issue as to why that happens. And I think the problem is when people are underrepresented on television, when they are represented, they become the rule and not the exception. And what's really important is that this is just one family and one example of what happens when something like this happened to them. It's not a reflection on every Asian person on the planet. And I think, yeah, that's important to say. Art reflects reality, and I think it's important to not shy away from these stories, and it's important that there's like an Asian family in the heart of this story. I think as long as something's done responsibly and done with the right intentions and done to further people's understandings of what happens and not add fuel to the stereotypes, then it's fine. But if it's not doing that, then no. I looked up a lot of things online. There's like a lot of members of the Asian community that kind of hide their sexuality, and there's all these websites about, people being married, but both partners in the relationship are gay, and how it's such a big taboo still in our communities. And I watched a lot of Dia Khan's videos about radicalization and Islamic extremists, and yeah, I looked at a lot of different source material just to kind of get a full understanding of what the specifics of what I was dealing with. I mean, it's not that I am like a young South Asian girl living in an Asian family, so it's like it's not that much of a stretch from like who I am, but it was important to me that I knew all the information and all the facts. After the show finishes, I'd like to hope that people have slightly more of an understanding of the impact that something like this has on families, and that one person doesn't represent an entire religion or an entire ethnicity or people. Because, terrorism isn't exclusive to Islam, it's not exclusive to South Asians, it's not exclusive to the Arab world, it's transient, like it exists everywhere. And also radicalization isn't something that just is exclusive to terrorism either. It's, it's the accepting of something extreme as normal. It happens in domestic abuse cases, it happens in so many, different areas of life. But yeah, so I would hope that people would just think before maybe deciding to fall into racial stereotypes on the streets. My first thought was that I don't want to do this. My first thought was like, I'm really, really skeptical when it comes to projects about terrorism and kind of further fueling my own stereotypes that I have to face in the street every day. So my first thought was, I don't know. But then, when I saw the writers and I spoke to the director, Justin Chadwick, and saw that Archie and Jack were on board, I felt like there was going to be some responsibility around what they were saying, and it wasn't just going to be like a blind stab in the dark of, a stereotyped view. And that's when I changed, that's when I thought, oh.